Okay, so now that you know what the slope is and how to find the slope, we're going to see how to use the slope and graph a straight line. And when you have the slope, you only need one point in the line in order to graph the line. Because before we needed two sets of coordinates. We needed an x value, x1, and a y1, and we needed an x2 and a y2. But we don't need that anymore because we have the slope. So we only need one xy value. Now, if you can see, I put the letter m equals 2 over 5. Now, m, lowercase m, is what they use to represent the slope in math. And you'll see that in the slope-intercept equation in a later video. So I'm bringing it up here so it won't be unfamiliar in a later video. Lowercase m equals the slope in algebraic equations. So as you can see, I have m equals 2 over 5, and then I have different sets of coordinates. I have 4 coordinates here, so that means we're going to graph 4 lines, and you're going to see how to do this by using the slope. So the first set of coordinates is -6 and 4. So that's -6 is your x value and 4 is your y value. So let's do -6 first. We're going to go to the 0 and we're going to count back because it's negative. We're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's your x value is -6, and then the y value is +4. So we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4. And so here's your dot for -6, +4. So now that we have our point, -6, +4, we're going to use the slope to find another point and make a line. So the slope is 2 over 5, so 2 is your rise, so that's 2 going up, over 5 is your run, and that's 5 going over. So let's do the 2 first. We start at our point that we made, and we go up 2, so 1, 2. And then we go over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so here is our second point using the slope, and we can just draw a straight line through that. And the thing to remember when we're graphing lines is that lines just go on forever. So I'm drawing little arrows at the ends of each of these lines to show that they go on for infinity. They go back for infinity and they go forward for infinity. So we drew a line through these 2 points, and the line keeps on going. So these 2 points are just a part of the line that we drew. So that was -6, 4. So now let's do another line using the second coordinate, -3, 2. So -3 is your x value. So we're going to start back at the 0 again and going to count back -3. So 1, 2, 3. And then +2 is your y value. So 1, 2. So there is your dot. There's your point. And then we're going to use the same slope. 2 is the rise. So 1, 2. And 5 is the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there is your second dot. And we can draw a line straight through these dots. Now we did the -3, 2. Now let's move on to our next set of coordinates, 1 and -5. So we need to go to 1, +1 for your x value, and then -5 means we're going to go down the y-axis 5 notches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's your point. And now we're going to use this same slope to make a second point and draw a line. So the rise is 2. So we're going from the dot that we just made, we're going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then 5 is your run. So we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's your second point. And we can draw a line through these 2 points. Great. So we did that one. So now let's do our last set of coordinates, positive 3 and negative 3. So we have a positive 3 on the x-axis, so 1, 2, 3, and we have a negative 3 on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, and there's our dot. So we're going to use this same slope, 2 over 5, which means up 2 and over 5. And we can draw a line through that. Now, if you notice something, we've used the same slope for drawing all of these lines. And if you notice, these lines are all parallel to each other. They'll never touch each other because they're all running in the exact same incline, in the exact same slope, in the exact same steepness, and they're set apart from each other. So these lines are parallel to each other because they have the same slope. So any lines with the same slope are going to be parallel to each other. They're going to go on forever, and they're never going to meet. And we did all that just from using one slope, m equals 2 over 5. Now we're going to graph 4 more lines, but we're going to do it the opposite way of what we just did. We're going to use this one point here, this negative 2 and 1. So negative 2 is your x value and 1 is your y value. But we're going to graph 4 different lines because we're going to be using 4 different slopes. So you can see what that looks like. So let's find our point. Our point, negative 2, 1. So negative 2 is our x value. So we're going to start at the 0 and we're going to count backwards 2 because it's a negative 2. And then positive 1 is your y value, so we're going to go up 1. And there's our point. So now we're going to use these different slopes to make different lines. Let's do the first slope, m equals 2 over 3. So 2 is your rise, and 3 is your run. So we're going to start from our point, negative 2, 1, and we're going to go up 2 for our rise, 1, 2, and we're going to go over 3, 1, 2, 3. And there is our second point for our line. And we can just draw a straight line right through there. And I'm putting arrows on this line to show that it goes on forever, both backwards and forwards. Now let's do our second line. We already have our point, negative 2, 1. It's the same point, but we're going to use a different slope. We're going to use m equals 1 over 5. So we go to our point, and 1 is our rise, and 5 is our run. So we're going to go up 1 and over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here is our second point, and we can just draw a straight line through those 2 points that we made. Now let's go to our third slope. Our third slope is m equals 3 over 1. So we already have our original point, this negative 2 and 1. We're going to start from our original point, and we're going to go up 3 and over 1. So that's going to give us our second point, and we can draw a line straight through that. Now last one, let's do our slope m equals 4 over 3. We're going to go to our original point, negative 2, 1, and our slope is 4 over 3, so our rise is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and our run is 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's our second point, and we can draw a straight line through that. And so you see now these are not parallel, these four lines, because they all meet at one point. They all mesh together at one point. So these lines are not going to be parallel because we used all different slopes and the same point. But now we have four pretty lines all radiating out from one point. And that's how you use the slope to graph lines just using one point. Okay, so there's one more thing that I wanted to show you about using the slope. And as you can see here, we have our point. 2 is our x value and 3 is our y value. But look at this. We have a slope of m equals negative 1 over 3. So how are we supposed to do this? Well, so we can go ahead and assume that it's negative 1 over 3. If you have a negative slope, just attach the negative to the top number. Don't make both numbers negative. Don't make a negative 1 and a negative 3. Just make one of the numbers negative. And I'm just going to make the top one negative, the 1 negative for the slope. So let's go ahead and graph this point. So our point is 2 and 3. So that's a positive 2 for the x value and a positive 3 for the y value. So here's our point. And now we want to use the slope to graph a straight line. So as I said, I'm going to just attach the negative to the top number of the slope, the negative 1. So from our point, from that blue dot, we're going to go down 1, because remember, 1, the top number is your rise, and the bottom number is your run. So if that rise is a negative number, then it's going to go down. So we're going to go down 1, and then we're going to go over 3, just like normal. And we can draw a line through that. And there's our line. Now you might be asking, but Suzanne, how do I know whether to attach the negative sign to the 1 or to the 3? How come you attached it to the 1? How come you didn't attach it to the 3? Well, let's go ahead and try that. Let's try m equals positive 1 over negative 3 and see what happens. And we'll do this in red so we can see the difference. So we already have our original point, 2 and 3, which is this blue dot. And now we're going to graph the line using the slope 1 over negative 3. So 1 is our rise and negative 3 is our run. So from the blue dot, we're going to go up 1, and our run, negative 3, means that we're going to go backwards 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll have our dot right here. And as you can see, our two dots, our first dot, our point, and the slope we made, makes the exact same line. So see, it doesn't matter which number in the slope you attach the negative to, just as long as you don't double up and do a -1 over a -3. That's not okay. If you have a slope of -1 over 3, you can either go -1 over 3, or you can go 1 over -3. It doesn't matter because it makes the exact same line.